Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. I know it is the last day of the conference, and the people will start to get tired. And before I start, how many people here are DBAs? Yeah. Okay, most of them. How many are developers? Okay, that's good. Thank you. A little bit about myself. My name is Francisco Munoz Alvarez. I am an Oracle ACE director since the year 2009 and Oracle ACE since the year 2008. I'm working with Oracle technologies since I was 16 years of age. That means I'm working with Oracle for the past 30 years. During these 30 years, my career was evolved the same way technology is. And I not only learned Oracle, I learned many other technologies. And it started evolving, as I mentioned, from administrator more to become an architect person. I have been beta tester of version 7 of Oracle up to many other technologies. I also the spokesperson for Asia Pacific and Latin America for IOC. President of the APEC OUC, the umbrella user group that support all user groups in the Asia Pacific. Also for Australia, New Zealand, and Chile in South America. I have been presented over 440 sessions around the world in 48 countries in the past 10 years. My blog is oracle.com or oraclenz.com, or you can do with .org or .net. They also take into my blog. My Twitter handle is FCOMunoz. If you follow me, I will not be talking about marketing. I try to talk about more about user group initiatives, free webinars that you can watch and see, and free events and everything that's happened to help you in Twitter. My email is alvarez@clouddb.solutions. And this is my book, the first book to be released with 12C. And also, I am the CEO of CloudDB, a company they do managed services, professional services, cloud services, and also create some SaaS, software as a service products. After the session, please feel free to come and grab one of my business cards if you want it. I also have some free stickers here from many technologies, not only Oracle, if you want to grab it. And also I have a little microfiber towel to clean your cell phone, watch, laptop, and they have a click to put in your keychain. Make easy to you to have it if you want it. Please feel free to come and grab one. And also, we'll have some information of the automation tool that we have too in case you want it. A little bit about myself, because a lot of people says, Francisco, you have worked with user groups all around the world. Where are you from? I born in Chile, in South America. I grew up in Brazil, where I lived from 3 years old up to 22, basically 19 years, where Portuguese become my main language. Then at 22, I moved back to Chile when I got married. accidents happen. Please, son, don't tell that to your mom. Then I moved to United States, where I lived for 10 years. Then I moved to New Zealand, where I live, this is wrong 7, but it's 8 years that I live in New Zealand. And now 5 years living in Australia. As you can see, I move all across the globe, and that's why I don't have a good Spanish, I don't have a good Portuguese, I don't have either a good English. It's a mix of everything in the end. But I don't like to talk too much about marketing. But this is a little bit of information about my company, what they do. Especially we're doing a lot of cloud as a service. And on our team, we have many of the main community leaders around the globe. We have many Oracle ACEs, ACE directors, some Microsoft MVPs, Cloudera champions, and so on that is on our team. And we have offices in Australia, New Zealand, United States, and we are opening the London office in UK in 3 more months. By the way, the presentations will be available with the organization of the event for you guys to download. And also, if you go to my blog, oraclenz.com or .org or .net, go to the tab presentations, you can also download from there. Okay, let's keep the marketing. And let's go for what we are going to be talking today. We will talk about the evolution of IT, especially about the past, the present, the future, what's next, and then we will finish with a conclusion and some Q&A if we have time. All right, let's start about the evolution of IT. As I mentioned before, I started working with IT when I was 16 years old. A lot of things have changed since I was 16 years old up to now. Technology evolved a lot. When I started working with Oracle Technologies 30 years ago, the DBA position not even existed. We were developers working with technologies such as Forms, Report, Oracle Menu, Oracle Case, and many tools that have basically allow us to build applications to run in the database. One day, we discovered that, you know what? We need someone to look after the database, to make it run faster and do things that we used to do in that time, such as defragmentation, backups, and things like that. If we talk about that, sorry, let's back right here. If we talk about that, you will see that that position started to evolve, and every time we learn new tricks. The same way everything in IT evolves. When I started, most of the developers were using COBOL. COBOL was, wow. Then we have approaching the 21K that everyone starts changing the applications to the year 2000. And that's where when all the COBOL people make a lot of money, because after that, nobody needs them anymore. They were become the dinosaurs in that time. I was a COBOL developer too. I wanted to design dinosaurs 16 years old. Clipper and many other database developing tools in that time too. But let's take a look in the evolution of IT in technology itself. If we see, we started what we call human computers back in the 40s up to the 70s. Anyone here saw the movie Hidden Figures that talk about the human computers at NASA and how they were afraid because they are going to be they will all lose their jobs to be replaced by a machine, by the IBM mainframe? Anyone saw that movie? One person? Okay. I recommend you to take a look. I will get back to this movie a little bit later. Then the human computers were basically, with the time, replaced with the mainframes. This was a 5 megabytes hard drive being delivered back in 1956. Now you have 1,000 times just in a pen drive and millions of times just in your phone. More storage than that. After the mainframes, we have new technology that we call the distributed technologies, when we don't need to work in the operator in the side in the mainframe in the console anymore. Now we have terminals. We can work in your office, everywhere, have access to applications. No more perforate paper to play with the mainframes. Technologies start to evolve. Now we have floppy disks, and a lot of things are changing. Technology is evolving. Then if we take a look, as you mentioned, we evolved from the human computers to the mainframes, to the client servers, that the distributed technology. Then we come by 2010-ish, what we call private cloud. That's when was the race that all companies start to virtualize their environments. Using VMware, Hyper-V, Xen, Oracle VM, so many different technologies, they start to make a better usage of the infrastructure they have using virtualization. That's what's the era of the private cloud. Without notice, you guys created your own private cloud on your environment. Then a few years later, by 2015, it started to become the boom of the public cloud. Everybody's talking about public cloud. But in reality, that became the boom of what we call hybrid cloud. When the people are still using the private cloud on premises, but they start learning and playing with the public cloud, and they start having a mix, like production environments on premises, and developing or backups on the cloud. Now, by 2020, everybody expected that most of your workload will be in public cloud. That's me next year. These are just right here already. Okay, when I mentioned before, when we spoke about the past, when I started as a DBA, we were looking just simple technologies. You saw the size of the storage. It was big size, small capacity. That's what that means. We work with little databases. We started working with managing 1 or 2 databases. Then new technologies start to be added, such as high availability. Oracle introduced one example, real application cluster. You will start working with also DR capabilities, have standby databases, and many, many other things this technology start to add. And what's worse for DBAs is your manager buys one application, then they don't care which database technology they use it, they only want the data application. Then they come, okay, I bought this, now I need you to install it. And when you start installing, oh, wait a moment, I'm a SQL Server in Oracle DBA, and this is a Postgres database. I have no idea about that. Wait a moment, your boss tells you. What's your position is database administrator. This is a database, is your problem. And that's what started happening with all the evolution and all the technologies. Everything starts to change and evolve. And you will start evolving with your career too. When we talk about the present, everybody talk about cloud, automation, and autonomous. That's the three key things that everyone talk. And after that came machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other technologies. I remember last year I was giving a presentation that I have called Tips and Best Practice for DBAs. And after my session, that was in the Collaborate in Las Vegas. And after my session, most of the people approached me to talk because they were very afraid, especially with one of my topics that I said, if you do something that can be easily automated, do it, automate it. If you can't, delegate it. Delegate to a junior DBA, a sysadmin, anyone that's learning. Why? Because you have more important things to do. Companies today, they want to keep the people and make that the way they can get more return, more profit. That means if you're busy doing what we call in Australia business as usual, BAU, you're just doing the things over and over and over, being what we call also a firefighter all the time, you have no time to work in projects that are strategic to the companies. They will give a return and make it evolve. You're always doing the same. That's why I always tell automate it. Don't be afraid of automate things. And then they come, Francisco, but should we move to the cloud? We don't want it. We are the ones blocking the go to the cloud in our companies because we are afraid if we do, we will lose our jobs. And in my opinion, that's not the case. That's, as I mentioned, try to automate most of you can. The same the cloud computing. Will not change anything with that. If you have a server running on your data center on premise, and if you have a server as infrastructure as a service in the cloud, the steps you have to install, configure, and manage it are the same. No change at all. If you use the cloud computing as platform as a service, then you will have like Amazon RDS, like Oracle Autonomous Database. They will automate most of the things that I mentioned are business as usual, and will release you to do things more important to do. When I talk with DBAs, why they are not working on critical projects or strategic projects, they tell me because they don't have time. These technologies allow you to have a little bit more time to focus on learn new technologies and evolve. As the example that I gave in the start about the movie Hidden Figures and the human computers with NASA, if you watch the movie, you will see that all the human computers were afraid and sad because they are going to lose their jobs. NASA signed the contract with IBM, and they knew that they are going to be replaced. The main issue is IBM has the technology. They had the technology more advanced in that time. But they are missing one thing that's important. They had zero knowledge of the business. That means they were hired by NASA to make the things faster and better, but they had no idea how to do that. That's when the human computers saw the advantage, and they saw the value of technology. Instead to be with the attitude of be sad and leave, they decide to use the last time to approach the companies like IBM and tell, okay, you cannot make the things work. Let's apply your knowledge to help you to make things work. They learned on that time Pascal and C++ and other technologies. And using that new tools that they learned, with their knowledge, they were able to help IBM be successful. And it's the same today for DBAs. You guys have the business knowledge in your heads. And data is the new oil. Who have the data is the king. That means you have the potential to learn new tools, like the human computers learn with in that movie, and apply that with the new technologies that are coming. If we talk about the DBA profession, that everyone is afraid that's going to be will die. If I push that back for the Oracle situation, with the introduction of Oracle 10, Oracle was already talking about DBAs will be obsolete. They introduced new technologies like autonomous storage management, ASM, RAC, Real Application Cluster, and a magic tool called Enterprise Manager that allow anyone that knows how to move a mouse to do things that DBA do. That was 10 years ago, and we're still here. You can see one example in the statistics from United States Bureau of Statistics from 2016. The DBA position was one of the top IT professionals on demand. They are thinking for the future 10 years. They were one of the highest salaries and number of jobs, in growing faster than average than any other IT profession. And that's happened again when they did the statistics in 2017, and the same again in 2018. And DBA is still one of the most on-demand professionals in IT. And even in Australia, if I go to a website for jobs like Jora and put database administrator, I get 5,800 people looking for DBAs. They are hugely on demand. In US, you can see how the salaries grow from entry level with no experience up to being seniors, and also that DBAs do not know, they're looking for only one technology, they want for multiple technologies. More technologies you know, better chance to find a better job and better salary. Here you can see that the database administration position is one of the highest paid in Australia. So, as I mentioned, cloud, you should not be afraid of cloud. You should embrace, because it's inevitable. It's like in the past, when the horses were everywhere in the streets and the first car show up, was weird to see many horses in one car. Took 10 years to see only cars and no horses. With the introduction of cloud, they will not change anything for us. With the introduction of autonomous environment, that could change a little bit, but same that took 10 years to cars replace horses, we are very far away to that position, and we have plenty of time to learn new technologies to evolve. When we talk about cloud, the key players on this space are basically Amazon, Azure, Google, and Oracle. If you take a closer look, all of them offer the same solutions: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. But everyone has their niche. Amazon is very well known by the RDS technologies. Aurora with MySQL or Postgres, Oracle, and so on. My company, they do professionally managed services. I make more money supporting this kind of databases than before, because the companies move to this thinking they don't need DBAs. By now, this technology lock their database in a crazy way. Then now you need to use specialized companies to make things go proper. And we are making more money than before. My DBAs are making more money than before with this technology. Oracle have their own databases in the cloud too. And we will talk a little bit later about the misconception of automation and autonomous. They are two different things. The future is in the cloud. That's something that we cannot go away. They are here to stay. It's like when the laptops came in, the internet came in, they were not replaced. They're still here and evolve. The same happened with the cloud. But the future, we have what we call automation autonomous that I just mentioned. As per example, I have my car. My car is not autonomous. That means they don't drive by itself. They need me to drive the car. But have many automation on it. As per example, they have this autonomous that they call cruise control that accelerate and brake the car, keeping safe distance. Allow me to, if I'm moving out of the lanes, to move me back in the position I need to be. Brake if it's something that I'm going to crash. Turn the lights on outside for me without I need to do nothing. If it starts raining, start to use the wipers of the car. That's all automation that do not replace the driver, but are there to make my life more easy, to let me focus only in drive and reduce risk. That's the same that happening with the database technologies right now. All these automations are there to help you, not to replace you yet. That's why you should be learning things like DevOps, all the automation technologies, versioning control, Dockers, big data and analytics. Cloud is key too. And if you learn cloud, don't be focused in one vendor. Learn about the difference about each one of them. Because if I have SQL Server database, I go to Azure because they know the technology bottom to top, and they have the best over there. If it's Oracle, I'm going to Oracle, and so on. The future, as I mentioned, is learn to live with automation. And when we talk Oracle, a lot of people has the misconception that I will stay on 11, I will stay on version 12, because I don't want to go to version 18 or 19 because they are autonomous, they're going to replace me. Now, version 18C and 19C are not autonomous. They have many automation features, same as 9, version 10, version 11, version 12. Each one of them had automation embedded and was growing, but they're not autonomous. The autonomous database that Oracle have is a hybrid of the newest versions of Oracle plus many automation functions to make it autonomous. That's not the version 18 or 19, the autonomous. That's a special thing that Oracle has only in the cloud. Version 18 and 19C you can download, install on premises, and Oracle never will allow autonomous to be on premise. They want to control that in the cloud. As I mentioned, automation one thing and autonomous is another thing, as the example of the car that I just gave you guys. And basically, automation is minimizing human interaction, minimize manual steps, consequently minimizing risk. Autonomous, in the other side, is full automation, no human interaction required. In the example that I gave of my car, autonomous would be that autonomous cars that everybody sees in TV and they're being tested around, that they will drive by themselves. You just sit, tell where you want to go, and they will go. That is the future, we know, but it's still far away. When the full autonomous cars are fully tested and ready to go, they will not change one day to the other. They will take time to the people to adopt and then in use. The same will happen with autonomous technologies like autonomous data warehouse or autonomous processing in Oracle. So cloud is the inevitable next step in the DBA DNA. That's something you guys need to learn and play without being afraid. I will come back 1 second here. This is important. In the past, as I mentioned, in my opinion, it's 2 types of DBAs in the market. You have the DBAs that do not mean database administrator anymore for a long time, in my opinion. They are database architects. They need to not focus only the database itself, they need to give one step back and focus on everything, infrastructure, network, security, and especially in the data. As I mentioned, data is the new oil. But the other type is what I call DBO, database operators. They are the ones that love to do that repetitive stuff, the business as usual, as I mentioned, and these jobs can be easily automated. They are the new dinosaurs like the COBOL was in the past. They are the ones that are going to extinction. You need to decide if you want to be an operator or you're going to be an architect. Here are a few examples of what's going on in the cloud wars. You can see many players in the cloud space for analytics, but you always see the same players on the top. And sorry, if we move it to the infrastructure of space, infrastructure as a service, it's a lot many players. Now we only have a real 6 players in the game, being the top ones, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Oracle, and then you have Alibaba and IBM coming. When you come to the database in the cloud, you have Amazon, Oracle, and Microsoft are the big ones, then followed by SAP. You can see if you take 2 years ago, compare with today, today versus next year, you see that still a lot, most of the workloads is still on-premise. By next year, we're already seeing that most of the workloads will be in the public cloud. I have many, many slides for statistics. If you take a look 2 years ago, the main challenge for the companies going to the cloud was security, compliance, and things like that. Now it shifts. Shift basically to the people, they already know they need to go to the cloud. They know the security is not a big issue anymore. Now they are focused on licensing implications when moving to the cloud. How much will cost me the application? It will cost me extra or not, my databases. They are more focused on cost, licensing. I will skip most of these statistics. You guys can take a look on my on the presentation itself because I'm getting out of time. But basically, I'll show that cloud is here and everything is changing to the cloud. Basically, just finish very fast. For become a professional that will be successful today, you need to focus on these four core points, in my opinion. Attitude. You need to have a different attitude that show that you are different of everybody else. Why I should hire you? Why are you better than everybody else? Because you need to shine and show that you're different. If everybody is the same, basically, okay, I need to hire someone, okay, yeah, that one, that's it. But no, if I notice that you is special, that attitude is the one that I wanted, and that will make you shine more than everybody else. With that attitude, you also need to know to do research. I hate people that come to me asking me to solve all their problems, or start asking everybody else to solve their problems. You need to know about research. You need to check tutorials, check Saint Google, like I said, check manuals, check forums. When you don't exhausted all the possibilities and you really could not find the solution, then you start asking your peers and everybody else. But show that you really okay. Oh, why you don't look that? I already did. Oh, you checked this? No, I already checked that. Okay, let's investigate, let's see. They know that can notice that you did your homework. And saying that, you cannot be afraid to innovate. You need automation, use the new technologies. Don't be afraid to take a look on machine learning and AI. That will show you how to shine. Will make you different, innovative, and especially communication. After being married over 25 years, I learned that the best way of communication is learn to listen. As IT professional, when someone approaches us with a problem, I maybe listen for the first 2 minutes, and then I block myself, the user is still talking, and I'm already thinking in the solution. But because I didn't listen properly, I maybe will start not giving the proper solution, and we have many try and error. Albert Einstein says one time that if I have 1 hour to save the world, I will spend 55 minutes understanding the problem, and I only will need 5 minutes to find the solution. Because when you understand the problem properly, the solution comes like this. If you do not understand the problem, you will be very hard to find the proper solution. Learn to be proactive. I have a few examples, but we are short of time. You can read right here. educate yourself. Many technologies and suggestions you have here that you could be looking and learning today to evolve even more. You can learn technologies like Ansible to automation, GitLab, Vagrant, Confluence, and CloudDB automation framework that you have here some information. And look about automation in the cloud, Oracle Autonomous. You have the free tryout, but now you have the always free Autonomous that's free forever, and it's a very generous environment for you to practice. You have tutorials to read and webinars, and a lot of information to see. Apologies that was not enough time, but I will be around. Please feel free to approach me anytime. And please come to the front and grab some of the things right here that is easy for me that I need to take back home. Thank you so much, everyone. Arigatou gozaimasu.